Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into Awesome Sunday Show. Before we get started, we'd like to tell you where you can find us.
You can find all of our episodes, including new content like blogs and guest blogs, on our newly launched website, awesomesundayshow.com.
Woohoo!
Our podcast is also available on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. You can find all those links also on awesomesundayshow.com.
You can also follow us on our social media accounts, twitter.com/awesomesunshow, facebook.com/awesomesundayshow, and instagram.com/awesomesundayshow.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
Hey everybody, welcome to Awesome Sunday Show. Connor here.
And Pat as well.
Pat, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Not doing bad, can't complain. Had a long day at work, but whatever. Shit happens. Can't control everything, right, Pat?
That's right.
Can't control everything, but what we can control is who our sponsors are. Pat, why don't we have a little word for our sponsors before we get into the episode?
Sure. This episode is brought to you by GameFly. For our Awesome Sunday Show listeners, GameFly is offering a premium free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. All you have to do is go to gameflyoffer.com/awesome. And why should you choose GameFly? They have over 8,000 new releases and classics available to rent for Xbox One, PS4, the last generation, Nintendo Switch, while it's still limited. Mass Effect Andromeda just came out, and you know what? You can get it on GameFly. Not only that, but you can also get movies free with your plan. They have two options. You can get a one-disc plan for $15.95 a month or a two-disc plan for $22.95 a month. And what that means is you get one game or two games out at a time. When you're done with it, whether you hate it, love it, sick of it, whatever, send it back in a pre-addressed envelope, and they ship you out one immediately once you get it back.
That's pretty gnarly.
There's no late fees. You can have it as long as you want, no contracts, cancel any time. You're not tied down. You could play like 30 games in a month if you really have that much time on your hand.
Yeah.
And you know what? With all these new releases that are coming out, saves you from spending $60 a pop.
Yeah.
Especially if you're only getting, 2 or 3 games a year. That's still expensive.
That is expensive. I mean, this month has been open world RPG exploration heavy. So, instead of paying $180 for 3 open world games that came out, Wildlands, Breath of the Wild, and what's the other one I'm thinking of? Horizon.
Yeah.
You just pay one monthly fee for, how much is it, Pat?
$15.95 a month for a one-disc plan or $22.95 for a two-disc plan. And you know what? The year's still young. There's a lot of games coming out this year. And you know what? Get GameFly. You know what? Say you get a game and you like it so much you want to buy it and keep it. You can get the game you want at a discounted rate. It's great. They offer you great deals. This is a great service. And you can try it out, see if it's for you, which I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it. For 30 days for free, go to gameflyoffer.com/awesome. That is gameflyoffer.com/awesome.
Thanks. This episode is also brought to you by BarkBox.com. Get one free extra month of BarkBox at www.getbarkbox.com/awesome. Why should you get BarkBox.com? Well, every month, BarkBox Paws pick the best all-natural treats and innovative toys to match a dog's unique needs, including allergies and heavy chewer preferences. All edibles are made in the U.S. and Canada, and 100% of the products are tested on animals, which are their own animals, so they know not to harm your animal. It's a great way to try a variety of treats and toys from local and small businesses that you may not otherwise be able to find. Each monthly box is a themed one, like country, barkball, New York City, etc., etc. New unique toys keep the dogs engaged, and by their Scout's honor, if the dog does not like something in the box, they'll send you something they'll love for free because they're all about dogs' happinesses, Pat.
Me too.
Yeah, and it's free shipping and any bark box within the continental U.S., and when the dog falls in love with something from the box, you can easily find it again on barkshop.com, on our app, or by texting them. Pretty sweet. So, Remember, folks, to receive 1 free month to BarkBox.com, go to www.getbarkbox.com/awesome. I'll repeat one more time, www.getbarkbox.com/awesome.
Great. Those are great deals from our sponsors, and we thank you for sponsoring us. Guys, recommend check it out. We're not just pushing random stuff here. Great services.
Yeah, no, they are.
One thing before we get into our topic today, which we'll tell you about. In our last episode, when I last uploaded it, for whatever reason, about 4 minutes, the first 4 minutes of the episode were cut out. Don't know why that happened, but I fixed it because that's what I do. And I re-uploaded it, so now you can get it on awesomesundayshow.com, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, and everywhere else it's available. So I want to apologize for that. You didn't really miss much in those first 4 episodes, but first 4 minutes. But you know what? We still want you to have it.
Yeah, exactly. It's worth something, especially because Nick Snyder's in that episode.
Exactly. We don't want you to miss out on any of the fun. So yeah, apologize for that, but it's back up, it's fixed, and now you can enjoy it even more.
Good.
It's like free DLC. Not going to jip you out.
Should all DLC be free?
Listen, the one that adds like 5 minutes of gameplay or just a couple weapons, yeah, that's bullshit. Some games charge you $10 for like 3 weapons. I think that's pretty lame. If it adds like The Witcher added some really great updates. One, I think they released for free was like 3 hours of gameplay. They unleashed like a whole new story that was like a dozen or more hours of gameplay. And it was like $10. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
I understand the reason for that. Because sometimes when you buy a season pass, it's really not always worth it.
No, it's not. I bought the season pass for Street Fighter V.
Yeah, that was a bad idea. And if you are purposely leaving out content to sell as DLC, which a lot of developers have been doing, then fuck you. I'm not gonna bother paying for it. I probably won't even buy the game. If you get it at like the DLC starts, you start coming along as you're finishing the game. You're like, oh, this would work great, or you don't have time to finish it before you have to release the game. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But going back to the last Star Wars Battlefront, they announced the DLC before the game was even close to being released. And it's stuff that would have completed the game instead of making the game bare bones and shit.
Yeah, remember the charging a game for $60 and the freaking
season pass was like $50.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's $50.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I would never in a million years pay that for a game that I don't know whether it'd be good or not.
Absolutely.
It turns
not.
out gameplay. I heard the gameplay for Star Wars Battlefront was amazing.
It was, but there wasn't shit to do. Really.
Yeah, that's what Street Fighter V.
Yeah.
Street Fighter V is probably technically the best Street Fighter I ever played in my life. It was so good. I almost want to if they ever do an old they're not gonna do Ultra Street Fighter V or anything like that. They said they're
Right.
done with that. Even though they're releasing Ultra Street Fighter 2 for Switch. But Street Fighter V is just gonna get constant updates. If they ever do a compilation, I'll buy it. But day one, Street Fighter V was awful. There was no arcade mode.
Seriously?
There was barely any characters, and which is fine. I think a huge problem with fighting games is that they have too many characters. But there was it was seriously lacking in this one. And then there was no, you couldn't do you can only play online with people. It was so weird. There was a lot of modes missing. I don't know. And it just didn't have that feel. They just gave you the gameplay and that was it. They didn't give you any meat.
Yeah, so they gypped you off.
Yeah, it was a jip. A big jip.
Some bullshit. Anyway, we're not talking about DLC today, although we can go on and on and on.
I know. We can just bitch about, what's a game before we go into the subject. What was a game? 3 games actually that were 3 games that were full games. They felt like they were finished games, and the DLC was legitimately add-on product that didn't take away from the core game.
Mm-hmm.
Is Super Smash Brothers for Wii U and 3DS, Mario Kart 8, and soon to be Zelda Breath of the Wild, because there is story DLC that's going to be released for that.
Right. I think, in my opinion, Bethesda has done really well with their DLC.
Yes, I have to give them credit too.
Consistently, game to game, I've always enjoyed their DLC. It's always been worth, whether you buy it individually or season pass, especially because for Fallout 4, I got a sick deal on the season pass and the game and a pair of socks for $60, which is pretty sick.
Yeah.
And then The Witcher, CD Projekt Red was super generous with their DLC, and it like really improved the gameplay and made it worthwhile.
The only problem I had with The Witcher 3 was the combat. It was like
Could have been better.
Really not good.
Yeah, it could have been pretty much better, but that story was fucking great.
Yeah, but I understand. Like, and apparently, like a lot of people didn't have a problem with the gameplay, but like that sword was like sluggish.
I didn't really mind it too much. I would try and get like lighter swords to use faster and use a lot of magic too. So
yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't a huge fan of the gameplay, but that's just me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, so getting off the subject of downloadable content, we are getting to a little idea that I had and Pat kind of built upon was, comparing movies because it's a good topic for discussion, and everyone has opinions out there, and like we'd like to hear yours in the comments below after the podcast. But one movie, a pair of movies that we disagree on, and it's probably going to mainly be like remakes or reboots or any type, or if movies are similar, but like even if it's not technically a remake, but it's from the same source material, so like kind of something like that. So, all right, my idea was to compare the two most popular Batman movies, or the what's considered to be the best is Batman 1989 and The Dark Knight, and both those movies, even though Dark Knight's a sequel and Batman is the original movie in a previous franchise, they're the most similar in both ways.
Right.
As far as when it comes to story, when it comes to characters,
the villain,
character progression, I would say setting, but all Batman movies are in Gotham City. Except Gotham City and Dark Knight looks like Chicago, but
well, it was filmed. They used multiple locations as a stand-in.
But yeah, I know. So I asked you, and I was like, "Hey, what out of the Batman movies, Batman 1989 and Dark Knight?" You said
The Dark Knight's better,
and I think Batman.
I think I personally like it better, and I think it is a better movie overall.
Okay, yeah, I would say that. Well, I like Batman 1989 more from a technical standpoint. Dark Knight's a much better movie.
It also has the advantage of coming out like 20-something years later.
Yeah,
almost.
But I think the ideas and the themes, and I actually prefer a lot of the characters in the original Batman 1989 one. So for me, that elevates it to a better movie for my experience. I'm not saying Batman 1989 doesn't have its problems, but The Dark Knight has its problems too. It's not a perfect movie, but it's a pretty fucking good movie. I mean,
it's fucking great.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's the superhero movie.
Yeah, I think it's the best superhero movie ever made.
It probably is. I wouldn't say it's my personal favorite, but if you were to do a best of list, I would no, what's not your personal favorite? What's the best? That's a hard one, but I don't know. I guess that's actually a hard decision because there's been so many good superhero movies.
There has. And unfortunately, well, not really unfortunately, but it's the scales are tipped towards Marvel. And that's, I mean, not to say that there haven't been great DC movies. I mean, we're talking about two right now. Batman Begins was phenomenal. Batman Returns, the sequel to Batman 1989, was great. The first two Superman movies with Christopher Reeves, especially the first one, were great.
Yeah.
The last two,
Quest for Peace.
Come on. I mean, come on. But, there still are, like, good DC movies out there. It's just lately it's just been Marvel. Yeah. Even though the two Batman movies we're talking about, I would say, are definitely top of the list, better than most of the Marvel movies in their own ways. But that list is currently dominated by Marvel. And Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Don't forget that. Because that is a comic book movie.
That is, yeah. It's a great movie too.
It is.
We even did a podcast on it, just talking about the movie. But yeah, so what I really wanted to dive into was, one will explain the movies and like why we like them, but you can go first, obviously. Just in a quick synopsis, what do you feel? Why do you like The Dark Knight more, and why do you think it's a better movie?
All right. Well, I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan.
As am I.
Yeah. Not big into Tim Burton. There are a few of his I like. I really like his Batman work.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice, I think, is excellent. Otherwise, I'm really not big into him in his style. Those three movies, I agree with. But I think Christopher Nolan, with the exception of Dark Knight Rises, has pretty much gotten better and better every time. And I think he's always pushing the envelope in certain ways, especially when the technical side. Mm-hmm. Maybe not in terms of story, but the technical side, I think he does bigger and better things. Dark Knight did some stuff with IMAX and some practical effects that, changed the game.
Yeah, that was a real truck that.
Yeah, they really did that.
Yeah, that's insane.
Most of this movie was practical effects.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because, a lot of crazy shit happened in this. The way he used IMAX in it to expand the scene, the way he incorporates music to really fit and elevate certain scenes and certain moments. And the cinematography in his movies are always great, with the exception of like his early ones when he was still getting started. Not that they looked bad, but they just were not what they have become. And I think The Dark Knight has excellent cinematography. It's beautifully shot, and that's one thing that people have against Marvel movies is they all kind of are shot the same, more or less.
Yeah.
In terms of the cinematography. But in this, he really did something different. I think the performances in this movie were just... Heath Ledger won an Oscar for his performance. And
yeah.
I think it was well-deserved because that was masterclass.
He took that character seriously.
He took that character so seriously, it fucked him up, and that's one of the reasons,
Yeah.
for his early passing, unfortunately. Michael Caine is at the top of his game. Christian Bale was phenomenal, aside from the stupid voice. And even the supporting characters, like Gary Oldman was excellent. Not that he's never excellent, but he was great. I think Maggie Gyllenhaal did a better job than Katie Holmes in taking over for Rachel. Aaron Eckhart was great as Harvey Dent.
That's very true.
Especially before he even became Two-Face. I think he was at his best while he was just regular Harvey Dent.
Mm-hmm.
And the action in this, the pacing of the story, the screenplay was tight. There are some, holes here and there, some points that may or may not make sense, but were overshadowed by a lot of the rest of it. Mm-hmm. And actually, a couple mistakes that happened during the performances really made it better. For instance, when Heath Ledger is walking out of the hospital and he's clicking the bomb, and how he had to click it a few times for it to go off.
Yeah.
That really happened, but I think it made the scene better.
It did. It did make the scene a lot better.
And the scene where Joker and his men show up at Bruce Wayne's penthouse and are looking for Harvey Dent, Michael Caine was supposed to have a line in there in that scene, but he hadn't seen Heath Ledger in character up until that point, and he's just like so, blindsided by it and blown away that he completely forgot what his lines were. And I think it turned out better because it showed off how intimidating and crazy the Joker was, and he was so shocking. But, even just the beginning of this movie, it opens up so great. I think, when they're doing the bank heist, that itself right there is like a short film. The action in that, the surprise at the end, and there's just the way the story progresses is great, and it gives enough time to each of the side characters to really develop, especially Harvey Dent, to really get to know them. So at the end of the movie and when their pivotal scenes come later on, you really do have a feel for it and it makes more of an impact.
And they gave you time to connect with each character and who they are and how they relate to each other. Even if you didn't see Batman Begins, Dark Knight actually did it so well.
Yeah, you really don't necessarily need to see the first one in order to get it. You should. You absolutely should. Batman Begins is good.
Especially if you want to watch Dark Knight Rises, you really should watch the first movie.
And pretty much everybody knows the story of Bruce Wayne, like his origin story. But So it is still important, but it's brought up here. And then one of the other things, I think the detective work, even though like the thing with the getting a fingerprint off that bullet, that fragmented bullet was kind of out there. It's a comic book movie, even though it's a serious movie, a more serious movie. We did see more detective work. We show, which was interesting because Batman is the world's greatest detective.
Yeah, but he always does. Like, here's the thing though. Like, what I really liked about Dark Knight over Batman in 1989, in this respect, was that like you do see Batman do like more detective work. Like, he kind of just like. But here's the thing though, is that it didn't really amount to anything because. Well, it amounted to something. It progressed the story, but they could have done something completely different because there was. He already knew who the Joker was. He already knows it's the Joker.
Yeah, there's nothing to.
If we really wanted to compare movies, Batman: Mask of the Phantasm is the only real theatrical Batman movie that has shown him like doing detective work to solve a case.
Yeah,
which is like what detectives do.
Right.
And like for being the world's greatest detective, there's really no Batman movie that shows off his detective skills. Even the 1989 version. It's like The Dark Knight had that little snippet, and it was like, all right, back to him like kicking ass, which is fine. It's a great fucking movie.
Exactly.
But it was really Mask of the Phantasm is the only one that ever shows him doing any real detective thing.
That and Mask of the Phantasm is one of the best comic book movies ever made.
Yeah,
too, for sure.
That's got to be a movie night here soon.
We should. And it brought in a lot of philosophical things like crossing the line. How far would Batman go to accomplish his goal? Both in physically how he gets information from his interrogation techniques, and then at the end when he's using everyone's cell phones and doing almost a government surveillance type thing.
Yeah,
like, is this overstepping his already illegal bounds as a vigilante? And really violating people's privacy, which, we found out later on in the real world happened. Yeah. So it was also very topical in that extent. And then it showed how far he was willing to go in order to defeat the Joker. And they say it's like when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
Right.
That's what happened in this. And it really brought in the philosophy behind Batman and really showed his struggles with what he was doing, how he was doing it, how he was perceived, and then just showed like he is, as tough as he comes off, as smooth as he comes off, he really is broken.
Right.
And he's still unsure of everything he does and whether he should do it.
Yeah, he's Batman is very complex, and that's what's always been great. Like Batman's like a writer's dream, there's so many pieces of the pie that you can slice off, and it's almost like a different flavor every time. It's perfect, and that's why he's my favorite superhero, and why he's really Batman is elevated to being one of the greatest cinematic characters of all time.
Agreed.
Up there with James Bond and Jesus, like who else is in a million movies besides James Bond?
I mean, you got characters. You got like Darth Vader.
Okay, so Darth Vader, like just those like classic characters that are in so many movies. Dracula, you know. So I think Batman is there,
right,
among them.
And then
so he's transcended comic books, really.
Yeah, and not only that, but like yes, this is a comic book movie, but it's so like grounded and it is gritty, but it's more of a realistic take on the character by far.
Right.
Even though it's still outrageous that this billionaire would be doing this, and then this character, the Joker, could do
you can have the most serious Batman movie I've ever seen, which is essentially Dark Knight, and then a little bit of Batman vs Superman, but it's they take itself so seriously that it's funny. Like it's still, I don't care how serious your fucking Batman movie is. Like when there's a lieutenant and a fucking district attorney talking to a guy in a bat suit on a roof, there's nothing not funny about that or silly.
Right.
It's the silliest thing ever. But I didn't think that when I was watching the movie. I was like, oh, this is where Batman like talks to him. Like it's a fucking guy in a bat suit that would never fly ever.
I know. And then at the beginning, like with the impersonators wearing, and he's like, I'm not wearing hockey pads, and like, there is a lot of goofiness to it, and that and the humor was used very well. But
right,
it really is more than just a comic book movie. It's a really good crime thriller. So it's really got two different genres working for it.
Right. Yo, yeah. I mean, there's a serious cop drama within a superhero movie there, and it's really cool because like you get that aspect from Commissioner Gordon, and why. And like what he deals with, and that's what I really thought. I think that's another advantage that the Nolan trilogy does have, is that Commissioner Gordon isn't like just there to be there, like Batman. Like today we saw this, like oh thank you.
He's actually doing work and putting in, he's actually a really contributing character,
right.
Which is what Gordon is in the comics, and
he's one of the greatest comic book characters
previous
of all
shows.
time.
Yeah.
For
the comics, he even became Batman at one point.
Yeah, well, that's stupid. But
yeah, that was stupid, but still, like he is really important. You look at Batman the animated series, and he's a major character in that, and does a whole lot.
Yeah, he's not useless.
And that's another thing. Like they put each character to good use.
Yeah.
Arguments can be made about Rachel, but she was more in this movie to put in like a love triangle and then serve the plot, especially towards the end, in awakening Two-Face, really. But, I mean, she still was a good character in this and still really had an effect on Bruce, which was important. And then I think, like, he's not the best Batman, but I think that Christian Bale might be, so far, the best Bruce Wayne.
That's where I disagree. And this is where I get into Batman 1989.
But I think in playing both, Michael Keaton so far is playing both. I think he's currently the best Batman, for sure, Michael Keaton.
Yes, absolutely.
And he was an excellent Bruce Wayne. I think he did the balance of, he's the only one to do both well.
Okay.
Not that Christian Bale was bad, but I mean like,
and we still have to yet to see, because I won't take it from BVS, but
well, yeah, that's what I mean right now, not including Bruce Ben Affleck.
Yeah, when Batfleck is like actually in a movie, where it's a solo Batman movie directed by Matt Reeves, which I'm really excited about.
Me too.
I mean, I'm still kind of disappointed that Ben Affleck isn't directing it. I wanted him to direct it. Like, I wanted him to do it.
Yeah, I still am glad that he's not, because that's a lot for a Batman movie.
I know,
of a movie of that scale.
I almost would rather him direct a Batman movie and have someone else play Batman, even though he's good. Like I see him like he's fucking Batman.
Yeah,
like,
but Matt Reeves is a really great choice.
Yeah.
But I do think Michael Keaton is the best of both worlds for sure. And as of right now, not counting Ben Affleck, he's the best Batman we've seen on screen in live action.
Right.
Next to George Clooney, of course, obviously.
That's Snyder's favorite Batman.
Yeah. But I think, I think that Dark Knight is the quintessential comic book movie, even without being campy and like really comic booky.
So Dark Knight is the quintessential comic book movie. I think it's what made people like turn their heads and be like, "Whoa, okay! Not only is there money to be made here, but it's also can be taking
the movie can be really good.
Yeah, it can be a serious form of art
for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And because one thing I've always like dug about superheroes is, and why I've loved comics and this shit for so long at 26 years old, is that you get a new element of humanity through someone who isn't always human. And because, and it's always fun to think of yourself, like, what if I was in that situation? Or like, what if I did have psychic abilities? Like, would I be like Charles Xavier? And then like, oh, like now, like when you put yourself in that imaginative scenario, it's easier to relate to somebody. It's a whole new level of entertainment. And like, I think that's why superhero movies thrive, especially right now. I think it will be for a while too. But like anything, it all ends at one point. But getting into Batman in '89, when it comes to the superhero character, one thing that's always that movie will always have over that Dark Knight trilogy is that I think Bruce Wayne and Batman are much more interesting in the '89 version over Dark Knight. One thing, the supporting cast, absolutely. Dark Knight totally trumps over Batman 1989 when it comes to supporting cast.
Well, in the Dark Knight, like you could argue that There's a theory that Joker really is the hero of it, but I think that Joker is definitely the better character in The Dark Knight.
Oh, absolutely. And
The best.
and I love Jack Nicholson's performance as the Joker.
Oh yeah, I
It's
thought he was
great.
great. I think that he was definitely more similar to the comic book Joker for sure.
Yes.
Like the classical Joker, but they're two very different Jokers. But I think Jack Nicholson did an excellent job.
Yeah, he did do a really good job playing it. Fun fact, actually, I'm going to bring up the actor's name real fast. I'm sorry, now I remember it. It's Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings. Brad Dourif.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Burton originally wanted Brad Dourif to play the Joker in the '89 version of Batman.
Right.
And I think that's kind of it's cool. He could have pulled it off.
He could have, but it's just like because we didn't see it. I think that it may not have been up to the level that Jack Nicholson did.
Right, and that's the thing though is like you hear Jack Nicholson's playing a comic book character. Like imagine in 1988 when people were like, "What?"
Yeah.
And in '89, like Jack Nicholson, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, like a serious Oscar, Academy Award winning actor is gonna play.
Seriously.
Yeah, and like this is at the time now, but now it's just like common knowledge,
Right.
He played the Joker, and it was so good because you want to know why? I thought, while Heath Ledger's Joker was definitely better,
Mm-hmm.
there was nothing really funny about it. Like he didn't do it,
he did have humor to it. It was just
but it was sick humor. It was humor.
It was graphic humor.
Yeah, you're like
the part with you want to see a magic trick and make the pencil disappear.
that was more cool than funny though.
Yeah,
Like-
it was. His demeanor was funnier than the joke was out of it.
Jack Nicholson is actually funny.
Yeah, he is because he is like a clown. He
right.
is
He's the
a
comic,
humorist. Yeah,
he's the comic book version of the Joker brought to life.
right.
Which is funny because, again, I like Heath Ledger's Joker, but besides that, since the '89 movie, there's never been a real accurate Joker portrayal, and I say accurate in quotations because they do change a lot of the backstory in the '89 version. They give him they call him Jack Napier. They ended up kind of keeping the name Jack through some Batman mediums because the Joker's origins are always kind of like up in the air. Right now, there's no 3 Jokers. Or some
there's
shit
no
in the
definitive origin to the Joker, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, I like that idea too. So they kind of made up their own in the '89 version. It's fine. It's their own version. Alan Moore made up his own version for The Killing Joke.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing is when I watched the '89 version of Batman, I'm like, this is Batman. Like this is what I read on page, and it's brought to life in comics.
Yeah, I think that the 1989 version is definitely more similar to the comics for sure, especially Jack Nicholson.
And I think overall, Michael Keaton is much more interesting as both Batman and Bruce Wayne. And it's for a Batman movie, it's got to have an interesting Batman. And I also, one thing too is that Gotham City, the setting, is much better in the '89 version than it is in The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight is a very serious movie. It has a serious tone, so they give you a real city. Obviously Gotham's not real, but they shot it in locations to make it look like a real city in the United States of America. Whereas like Gotham City in '89, there's no real like landscape shots unless it's set up in unless it's set up that way for certain scenes, like the scene where he comes in flying on the bat plane, and when he's like flying over, it's like painted in the background, or it's like a landscape shot, so it makes it look like it was shot outside in a movie set, so not really outside, kind of like Frankenstein or those old monster movies. So even though like there was a set indoors, but they were really outdoors, and you don't really notice it because the film's black and white. But since this film is so dark with grays and blacks and shadows, you forget that they're inside a movie set, even though they're outside.
Right.
So I think the set design is ingenious in the '89 version, and I love visually looking at the '89 version much more than the Christopher Nolan version.
Well, yeah, The Dark Knight was pretty much location, like shot in locations.
Yes.
No sets were really built, which is not probably not entirely true, but it was mostly like location shots, and then they like close down certain parts of like major highways or whatever to do it. But yeah, Batman 1989, they actually built sets.
Yeah, and
and the
sets are great.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I love Batman 1989.
They get real wacky in Batman Returns too, like real
yeah,
wacky.
it gets like even campier.
My favorite character. Sorry, not to lose track of the conversation, but my favorite character, not really my favorite character, but my favorite character to laugh at in Batman Returns is Christopher Walken's son, Max Shreck's son, because he's like, they got an actor like who can do a Christopher Walken impression, but not very well.
Yeah, like a shitty knockoff.
Like a shitty knockoff Christopher Walken, and they cast him as his son. Dude, I don't know. I just always found that really funny.
Yeah, no, I mean, the 1989 version, I think, in many regards is, well, no, it's not even many regards. It is closer to the comics, closer to the animated series in a way. Definitely captures like how ridiculous the world that Batman operates in is.
Right. The only thing that
the Joker is like.
Right. The only thing in the '89 version that kind of ticks me off is Batman's origins. How, his parents were killed. Blah blah blah. But like the fact that it was the Joker that killed his parents, I don't like that very much. It doesn't bother a lot of people, but then there's some people it really bothers. That didn't bother me.
Right.
They didn't. I don't know if they knew they were going to do a sequel. So I think they tried to write a story.
Probably not. I don't think that it. I mean, it definitely exceeded expectations.
Yeah,
for sure. And so they wanted to make it its own thing
and like have a full story wrap up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like in the Nolan trilogy, they went with the classic Joe Chill version,
which I'm glad they did.
Mm-hmm. I think it was just a way to closer. In the 1989 version was to put a closer tie to Joker and Bruce, like give them more of a history and more of a relationship, like make them closer linked than they originally thought.
And if you don't know Batman as well as we do, and you're like, I just want to watch a good movie, and you throw on Batman in 1989, it's actually done it's clever writing. It's very, I think it's very clever.
No, it is a solid movie. There's no doubt about it.
I'm just talking about the relationship between Batman and the Joker previously, before he was the Clown Prince of Crime.
Mm-hmm.
How he was tied to really killing his parents.
Yeah.
So I think if you're just watching a movie and you don't know the comics, I think that's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But it's us being us. It's in the comics,
Right. Another great thing about Batman 1989, Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent.
Oh yeah, and you know what? He's not even like given that much screen time.
No, it's just great because it's Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, he's just great to look at.
Yeah, and I mean, like there's
the only person to say Han, not Han.
Yeah. Whatever. You can do what he wants.
Rescue Han. Fucking Han, dude. Say it right.
Yeah, like if you hear Han Solo say his own name, obviously that's the way you pronounce it. Like, it's not like I'm saying Canner.
Yeah.
Because that'd just be stupid.
Or Pete.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there's a lot more in the Nolan trilogy. There's really very little Easter eggs. But in the 1989 version, there are a lot of Easter eggs. There's more, and including Batman Returns, nods to the comics, especially with certain characters. Like in this, you got Vicky Vale is featured in this, and she is a prominent character in Batman's lore. And
played by Kim Basinger.
Played by Kim Basinger, on-off love interest / whatever. And they did change a little bit, like instead of Ace Chemicals, it was Axis Chemicals.
Yeah.
But like the Joker gas, I think, is a great nod to the comics and the animated. The animated series came after, but
scary in the movie.
Yeah, it is. And I think that the design of Jack Nicholson's Joker was really good too.
Yeah, I love
aside
that
from just the
smile.
portrayal. Yeah, because it got the whacked out smile. While in the Dark Knight, they have the scars that go up his face.
Right.
Going back to the Dark Knight, you mentioned his origin. I like how in the Dark Knight you don't really know his origin at all, because it seems like Joker either doesn't remember it for whatever reason, which a lot of people think like he suffered some sort of PTSD or whatever, but like when he's talking about how you want to know how I got these scars, he always tells something different.
He says like 2 different stories in the movie.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 different ones, and like his skills are not of like a common thug. So like he's had experience in other ways, which is like one theory is that he was like a former soldier. It could be true, or some sort of hitman, or any which way. But I like the ambiguity of his backstory because that's what we're used to.
Right. And that's closer to the comics in that fashion.
Right. Even though like there is it's been done before, the past of the Joker, whether it's as Jack Napier or Jack whatever, but when he was like the original Red Hood, and which, depending on what you watch, led to him getting dropped in those chemicals and becoming the Joker.
Mm-hmm. Batman's greatest failure. Yeah,
as an operative of the Red Hood gang, he gets screwed over and then pushed into him. So while I like that aspect of the Joker's background in The Dark Knight much more than in the original, and again, I really agree with you in terms of having Joker kill the Waynes. For sure. I think that Dark Knight, Michael Caine's a better Alfred than the Alfred in 1989.
Again, he's much more fleshed out.
Yeah, definitely much more fleshed out, much more useful, because Alfred is...
He's funnier.
He's like, Alfred is, again, one of the greatest comic book characters ever, one of the, Batman's biggest tools.
Yeah, and he's Batman's parent.
Yeah,
like,
he is. He's his, like...
That's one thing the Lego Batman movie... Did you see Lego Batman?
Yes.
Dude,
excellent.
That portrayal of Alfred was great because...
Loved it.
That is kind of Alfred, actually.
Yeah,
like
he really was his surrogate parent.
Batman is... Batman's character in that movie is not anywhere near how Batman kind of really is.
No,
but it's funny, like, fucking Alfred was like looking out for him and like and saying like, this is what you need to do, like, this, it's time to do this, and like,
he treated him like his own son.
Yeah, that is fucking Alfred. I was like, holy shit, like, they did Alfred right, like, in that movie.
Yeah, and I think aside from just...
And Michael Caine is like that as well. Michael Caine's very like that.
Right.
He's like, maybe it's time to fucking, jerk off. I don't know.
Yeah, you can really see the larger aspect of being a father in that relationship in the Nolan trilogy. But yeah, because not only that, but Alfred does work in that, and Alfred does a lot of the background work for Bruce. Like, yes. Bruce could not operate nearly as well as he could without Alfred.
Right, and that's actually what I really liked about Jeremy Irons' Alfred. And that shitty
Jeremy Irons was a great Alfred, a great different take, but again, it showed like he was sharing duties in a obviously behind the scenes way, but when he was controlling the Batplane. Yeah, and using it, taking over control over it, and turning it into like a remote controlled drone, which is something that Alfred has frequently done.
Right. No, yeah, that is true. And Alfred's in a lot of interpretations, he's like an ex military officer in
British
the British Army. Yeah. So he has some sort of like military intelligence. So he's not stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's Alfred, I think, does have a very philosophical side to him, which is always explored, and he doesn't agree with Bruce's methods, and he makes it known. But Jeremy Irons did it well. I think Michael Caine did it very well. But that is a testament to the writing. But he still supported him, and while he said multiple times, like, maybe you should just stop. He's like, but I won't stop you because this is what you feel you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think The Dark Knight, especially because you do see a bigger growth in that movie than you do in the first and third movies of the trilogy.
Well, it also, one thing Dark Knight benefits from is it has a longer running time. So there's more time for characters to talk and converse and get to know and see whether if you like them or not. And then also, too, like, the thing about Dark Knight is that it had a first movie to kind of help
right,
help
yeah, because this was the origin.
And I like Michael Caine, and I think Michael Caine's the best Alfred in Batman Begins over Dark Knight. Even though he's still fucking amazing in Dark Knight.
Right.
But yeah, I mean but also too, like when it comes back to the '89 version of Batman, I really did like the Alfred in that version too. Michael Caine's obviously better. I'm not gonna say that he's not. And also the Commissioner Gordon's like better in Dark Knight too. But it really just comes down to really the leads, like because of how much stronger Batman is in that version, and then also how well Jack Nicholson does it too. It's just these are the characters that we have to focus on the whole time, and then I can't really help but think then going like when in the Dark Knight with Christian Bale, even though he's great, but whenever I talk about Dark Knight with people, people bring up Heath Ledger, people bring up Aaron Eckhart, people bring up Michael Caine more than they bring up Christian Bale playing Bruce Wayne in Batman, and that's a problem. And also too, it's kind of, the Bat voice is really hard to get by sometimes.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the worst part of the Nolan trilogy.
It's like, but it's like laughable. Like when I would laugh at Batman 1989 because of its goofiness, it knew when it was supposed to be goofy, but then it also knew when to take itself seriously. And then like, dude, you're a fucking billionaire. Like
can't afford voice modulation.
Yeah, you can't afford that,
which they did in Batman vs Superman, which was a smart idea.
Yeah, they did. Besides Batman like being a fucking murderous rampage and an idiot,
they did get a lot of parts right.
They did get a lot of parts right.
But like, and one thing that really bothered, I mean, that's a good point with the Bat voice. But even when he was talking to people who knew who he was, he would still talk in that voice. And I'm like, why?
Even worse than that, when fucking Two-Face has Commissioner Gordon's kid, and he's like talking to him in the Bat voice, like, dude, he's got a fucking kid hostage,
and you're goofing around.
You're goofing around in that voice, like, shut up and like get the job done, like. That voice like really is like hard, dude. And by Dark Knight Rises, it's like, stop.
Yeah, it only got like shittier there.
Whereas like not to compare voices, but Michael Keaton's Bat voice is calm, cool, collective, and intimidating. He clearly talks at a darker tone, to give off a more intimidating factor.
Yeah, but it's not like.
But it's not ridiculous.
Exactly.
It's kind of like.
I think the Bat voice in the Nolan trilogy was one of its biggest flaws, and one of it could take you out of the moment.
And it's not a minor flaw either,
right? Especially because whenever he's in the suit, he's doing that.
But in Batman Begins, it was great because he like when he was like swear to me when he got held the guy upside down, like that was a time to use it,
right?
But then like it's like when you're talking, like I can't like imagine if you did a whole podcast where I just talk like this the whole time.
Yeah.
And you'd just be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Talk normal.
Yeah.
Where's Rachel?
Yeah. Which became a meme itself, and that's because of like the ridiculousness of it. And it's something that could have easily been fixed. You know, he has all this ridiculous tech and weaponry. Hey, let's just do a voice modulation.
Yeah, or like not talk like a fucking baboon on steroids.
Yeah, not sound like you need like 10 lozenges.
You could have just minor like change your voice a little bit differently.
Yeah, and you know what? Not even that, but like when he was talking to criminals, how many criminals are going to know what Bruce Wayne sounds like? Granted, he has to be intimidating, but he doesn't need to completely go that far to a point where he sounds like he's just destroying his vocal cords.
Yeah, it just was so ridiculous, and like. I get the point of it was when Bruce Wayne dons Batman, like Batman comes out and it makes you wonder, is Batman hiding as Bruce Wayne or is Bruce Wayne hiding as Batman? It gives you like that whole feel. I get what they were going towards. It just is like I shouldn't laugh my way there. I should try to like. You should bring me there automatically and naturally, like because I'm watching like Keaton did it better, and like not to keep going back to the same point, but again, it's a fucking Batman movie. Like, if Batman is not your most interesting character in Batman, that's a big flaw for me.
Yeah, but I do think that he did get overshadowed in The Dark Knight, mostly by Heath Ledger,
and by Michael, and by a lot of other people, by two other people. I'm sorry, but Aaron Eckhart was great in that.
No, he was great.
Harvey Dent's scenes were some of the best scenes in that movie, hands down. When they're all three of them on the rooftop, I cared about what Harvey Dent was saying more than anybody there. When Jim Gordon was in Harvey Dent's office, and he's like, I know what they call me down at the precinct. And he like says that little joke, like, well, not like Two-Face, 'cause he's a politician. The scene where he finds Rachel Dawes' name tag on one of the schizophrenics that held the gunfire and shot Commissioner Gordon. Spoilers. And then he brings him to the ambulance and like brings him and has the gun to his head. It's like showing like a side, like it gives you the first glimpse, like this guy is not okay.
Right.
He's like losing it. So
yeah, but at the same time of like the it being a problem when Batman's not your most interesting character, it also highlights the fact that in Batman's life, in his world, he does have a lot of really strong, great characters in his history.
Right.
Which I'm glad that they did without, like they could have just made those characters throwaways. They could have just made them completely underdeveloped and just not have done a great job. But I'm glad that they made them as strong as they were, even if it was at the sacrifice of Batman, which I don't think he was completely uninteresting. It's just he was overshadowed by how well certain other characters were written and their arcs and, their performances. I do think it was nice to see.
Right. No, I listen. I agree that I'm happy that like the supporting cast was written so well, and the acting was so good. But I can't really say. I mean, I can always say great job because all of them did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard for me to be like Dark Knight's better when you're sacrificing the interesting factor out of Batman himself.
Yeah, but it's not like he was completely uninteresting. It's just
he wasn't at all.
It's just in certain scenes, like the one you mentioned on the rooftop, or pretty much all of his interactions with the Joker. It's just in those moments the supporting characters were more interesting.
But that's the scenes with Batman.
Yeah, but I mean, in the movie, he's kind of more interesting as Bruce Wayne. But and the choices he makes as Bruce Wayne versus when he has the suit on.
But the choices he makes at Bruce Wayne, he's always like doing it with somebody as far as like, do you think this? And they're like, well, Master Wayne, if in my opinion, or well, Mr. Wayne, if you did this, like, it's always like a little clever, like, hey, Mr. Wayne, like, it's very like, I don't know. It just comes back to the '89 version where you actually see Michael Keaton sitting there trying to figure something out, like. They show you everything, like, and even lines of dialogue, or even, even scenes where there's no lines of dialogue, and you just have to like read his facial expressions. He doesn't have that same like zone, like what Christian Bale has. He has that same zoned in look, like, oh my gosh, like I have to do something. Where it's like there's like complexity to his thought and like how he expresses himself. He's also like kind of a little funny too, Bruce Wayne in the '89 version, as far as when he's like talking to Vicky Vale and the other photographer that worked. With her at the time, and they're like talking shit about Bruce Wayne, and he goes, how do you know this is from Japan? He goes, because I bought it. So like, fuck, like what a wrong thing to start off. So like Batman, like Bruce Wayne kind of has a sense of humor, and without like making Batman seem ridiculous, they give a little bit of humanity, a little bit of personality to Bruce Wayne, so that automatically kind of you're able to differentiate between Bruce Wayne and Batman as characters played by the same actor even better. So like that representation is so much, it's just better. It's better. I can't.
Going back to the point of you made when he's like a lot of decisions he makes, it was with somebody else there. I think, well, yes, as self-reliant as Bruce, Batman are, it shows that he really needs other people to help him out, like, incredibly.
Again, and like what I'm saying about Dark Knight is not to interrupt you, sorry, but what I'm saying about Dark Knight doesn't make it bad. Like, I don't think any of that stuff is bad at all. I actually really enjoy those scenes that I watched, and I don't think Batman is shitty because of it. Like Christian Bale is a great Batman, a great Bruce Wayne. Is he the best? I don't think so, but those are just my reasons. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I think it did highlight, like, because he really does, and any incarnation of what you're watching or reading of Batman, he is incredibly self-reliant, but he really is also, like, he couldn't get nearly as much done without people. He really is dependable on people, even though he definitely won't acknowledge that a lot of the time. But yes, Michael Keaton did really show the complete difference between the two
Without
two
looking
parts of him.
silly in a
Yeah,
silly
without
movie.
looking- with that-
yeah.
Yeah, he did do that. While Christian Bale's portrayal, they were more one and the same. He just had a different outfit on
Yep.
and had a ridiculous voice.
Yeah. Yeah. I get also too. I guess to finish off the episode, because I feel like we kind of dived in a lot between the characters and like what we like more and everything. So there's one major difference. I think that's even more, whether you want to look at it as contradictory or as pinnacle to a character, more than Bruce Wayne's parents getting shot either by Joe Chill or by Jack Napier, who became the Joker in the '89 Batman movie, was Batman killing.
Mm-hmm.
Batman kills.
He does kill in the '89 version.
He kills, I think, like 2 or 3 people.
It's a little bit of a handful.
Yeah.
And I think he also indirectly killed a bunch of people too.
Yeah. And Batman legitimately kills. And it's actually funny too, because they're both both scenes where the Joker is about to die or die, it's from like a rooftop.
Yeah.
So like I always thought that was kind of funny. Even when I was watching Dark Knight, like the first time I ever saw it in 2008, I picked that up. And I was 2008, I was 17 at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a big difference because, in The Dark Knight, he still, in Batman Begins, he did kill Ra's al Ghul and
yeah, I don't care what anybody
other
fucking
people
tells you.
Yeah,
Like,
he did.
He fucking killed him.
Yeah, he did.
If you were hanging from a cliff and I was videotaping you and you're like, Connor, help me. And I was like, well, I don't have to save you.
Yeah,
And someone got that on video.
you
I'd be
were responsible for my death. You
Yeah,
killed me.
I would be tried, wouldn't I? That I didn't try to help you?
I mean, I don't know exactly, but you are responsible for my death.
People,
Yeah.
whether how much legal trouble I'd get into or whatever, I don't know because I'm not a lawyer. I should ask Delia that question. But like people would still look at me and be like, "You're a fucking asshole. You just killed him." Like
You're a murderer, pretty much, more or less.
in the making.
And that's what. Yeah, he did kill in Batman Begins. True, that's a great thing. But in The
I
Dark
don't have
Knight,
to save you. Is
he
bullshit.
makes it a point not to kill anybody, and he knows all the damage that Joker's done, how many people he's killed, how many people he will kill if and when he gets out. Like he was originally, had Heath Ledger not passed, Joker was going to escape in The Dark Knight Rises and be a major part of it. But he knows, and that's one of Batman's biggest, problems throughout his entire history. He goes, if I kill the Joker, I'll save however many lives, but that's still one person who is killed. I'd be saving this many lives, but I'd also be killing this one person.
Right.
And while he didn't have that conundrum, it seems that philosophical conundrum in Batman Begins,
He was super cool about it.
he did in The Dark Knight, which I thought was a great representation of him, because he goes, he's going to kill somebody else, but a life being taken is still a life being taken. Doesn't matter who they are.
Right.
And he also, Batman does think that people can be redeemed. He doesn't really feel that way about the Joker in The Dark Knight, but he sticks to that code of not killing. That new code for this movie, at least.
the code that he forgot in the first movie.
Yeah.
Dude, the Tim Burton first
Well,
two movies.
not only did he
he
kill...
goes, fuck that code.
Yeah.
Like,
You know what? Not only did he kill Ra's al Ghul at the end in that explosion, but think about how many members of the League of Shadows he killed when he set the building on fire.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, think about that's a number of lives.
But
right
everyone
there.
just happened to escape. But then he happens to just want to save Raish.
Yeah.
And then even though he fucking probably killed 5 ninjas.
Yeah, you don't know how many people he killed then, but that's something he took out of.
That was
in The
stupid.
Dark
But
Knight.
that's not Dark Knight. That's
Yeah.
Batman Begins.
Yeah.
But I don't mind Batman killing. I never did. I think I'm glad that there's interpretations where they're like Batman doesn't kill, too, and there's interpretations that say, no, yeah, he does kill. I don't care. It doesn't
Yeah.
bother me.
He doesn't go on a murderous rampage like Thomas Wayne in the Flashpoint timeline.
No, right.
Or people who have taken over the cowl for him or
Yeah.
impersonated him.
But also, but obviously the Batman vs Superman is a super
Was
extreme.
crazy excessive.
That was just like, how's this guy not in jail? He's the villain of the movie. He's killing that many people.
Yeah.
But then, like, you know, in Batman Returns, he fucking lights a guy on fire.
Yeah, it's
Like,
pretty fucked up.
Yeah, with like his engine.
Yeah.
That's insane. And he
Yeah.
just leaves him, and it's like a cool scene. Like, gotta go. I'm
Yeah,
like, you fucking...
and that's straight up murder.
Yeah,
like
he murdered, and they're
he killed a
Commissioner
person
Gordon
in the
sees that,
worst
he's
way
like,
you could
"Batman."
possibly die.
Batman, thank you for saving the day.
Yeah.
Like, he calls himself the Penguin. Like,
Yeah.
you just lit a dude on fire. You have no authority whatsoever within this city. You are just a guy
you're
in a
not-
bat suit.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he fucking murders people like straight up, and like, I don't know, like, because the tone of the movies are so dark in Batman and Batman Returns that I don't care that he kills people. You know, I would, if he killed people in Dark Knight, because I think it would be so out of tone of the movie, like it was in Batman Begins.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't fit the tone of The Dark Knight, especially. You know, because it showed that no matter how far he was pushed, he wouldn't cross that line. And that really pissed the Joker off, because he wanted to break Batman to the point where
Right.
Joker was fine with him dying if Batman was the one killing him. And it really would have been out of place in The Dark Knight, especially if he had killed him at the end. It would have completely like erased and made, you know, what had happened before that and his battles before that completely null and void.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like, Batman has killed. He'll definitely kill again, but like there's a point where it's like, okay, now you're just turning into a bloodthirsty murderer,
Right.
and that's not okay.
And that's the great thing about Batman, is that you can change certain things about his character, but it's his core essence, like who he is, has never been truly been lost.
Mm-hmm.
Even in like the Adam West Batman series, which is so laughably stupid, but it's great at the same time.
Right. For different reasons than what you would
yeah.
expect, but yeah.
They keep a little bit of Batman in there, like actual Batman.
Yeah.
And you know, again, I love Batman. That's all I really just want to talk about Batman. It's been a while, but yeah. Again, I think, and we gone over our reasons why I think the '89 version is a superior version. You gone over your reasons why you think the 2008 Dark Knight version is superior. I don't think either of us are wrong.
No.
I can never be like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like,
Right. It's
about
not
it.
like you're saying, you know, the George Clooney, Batman or Robin is like the best one.
Right. Yeah.
Or, you know, whatever, one of the Joel Schumacher versions or anything, or even the Val Kilmer one. Like, you're not saying one of those is, because then you'd be wrong.
Yeah, you're absolutely wrong.
But I think that we can probably both agree that Batman the Animated Series is definitely the best non-comic book version of the character.
Oh yeah,
ever done.
It absolutely is, and I think, not counting, it's not live action, so I'm not really going to count. And not that it makes it any less of a movie, because it doesn't. But I'm just not counting it in this category. But like, I think we can both agree that Mask of the Phantasm is probably the best Batman movie.
Probably
Like
the most Batman movie.
Yeah,
there is.
It's like the most. Yeah, it is the closest to the character of Batman I've ever seen in film. Ever. I've like that. It is the greatest, most accurate representation that I've ever seen. I mean, also because it had a show that followed the comics like super well. So, but yeah, those are our comparisons. What do you guys think? What do you think is the superior version? Do you think I'm right and the 1989 version is better, or do you think Pat's version, the 2008 Dark Knight, is better? There'll be a Twitter poll out tomorrow. Oh, when is this episode coming out?
Well, it's going to be out on March 23rd, which is, as of right now, today.
Today? All right. So today's Thursday, technically. So yeah. So Thursday, when this episode's up, I'm going to put out a Twitter poll for all the listeners out there, and you guys can vote which one you actually think is better. I think most of you are going to vote Dark Knight, but I'm still. Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers.
I think there would definitely be people who pick the 89 version. And going with that, do you think Batman Returns, the sequel to the 89 version, is better? Or would you say even Batman Begins is the best Batman movie? Because I've heard people say that. And while I don't necessarily agree with either opinion of them, I think that Dark Knight and 89 are the best live action ones.
Oh, absolutely.
I
think Batman
there are
Returns is
people
fucking awesome,
who
though.
think those two other ones that I just named are the quintessential Batman movies.
Well, here's the thing, though. Even though Batman Returns is fucking awesome, I love that movie. It's such a movies lovers movie. Like when you really watch it, just because of all the little things in there. But it's not it's not really a comic book movie anymore. It became much more of a Tim Burton movie.
That's for sure.
And like it's fine. Like I love it. Like I'm glad it exists, you know, but like the movie has like really like henchmen that are like dressed like improportionately. Like why would anybody go out in public and rob a bank like that or like
it's
steal
like
pearls?
It's Tim Burton took Batman, took a little bit of Beetlejuice, took a little bit of Edward Scissorhands, which I don't think came out yet.
Yeah. It takes
Or
place,
like some of
around
his
Christmas.
Yeah, his future projects and just sprinkled them on Batman.
Yeah, and it's like it's literally like a Tim Burton movie with
Just happens to star Batman.
just happens to star Batman, and like that's why even though I love it, in some aspects it's actually better than the '89 version. In some aspects, like especially when it comes visually, set design, and the way it balances its characters is actually better than the original than the previous movie. But it's not really a Batman movie.
Right.
It's a Tim Burton movie.
Exactly.
You know, and whereas the '89 version of Batman had Tim Burton-esque touches to it, which
was a
were
Batman
nice.
movie.
But it's a Batman movie.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all the other ones, I don't know. Dark Knight Rises, I think, is okay.
It was definitely a disappointment. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
I don't think it's as bad as some people said it was.
No, it was just like the disappointment overshadows the rest of the movie.
Right.
I mean, it had the most problems clearly out of the Nolan trilogy.
Yeah, like just being able to appear anywhere. Like I know where the city. Like,
Yeah, it just like
okay, dude.
the script was severely flawed, and the extras that they had in it. There were scenes where Batman was fighting some henchmen, and there would be one behind him that would just fall down,
Yeah.
even though they weren't like not hit by him or anything. That happened a few times in The Dark Knight Rises, which was just and then the whole twist at the end with Talia al Ghul just to like
That
sprinkle
was
something
stupid.
on.
Yeah.
And the way she died, that was the worst death ever. Just the like how Marion Cotillard portrayed the death was just like so overly dramatic and just bad.
Yeah, and then also too the way Bane dies like a bitch.
Yeah.
You know, and not to mention also like Bruce Wayne like having like arthritis in the knee or something where like he lost the cartilage. And he just like slaps something on, and he starts like kicking like stone.
Yeah, he breaks fucking bricks with a kick.
Yeah, and
okay.
I'm watching that. I'm like, dude, he was just like hunching over like a fucking hour ago.
Yeah, and then when he returns back to Gotham, and he puts on the huge, like he takes the time to put the bat symbol on the bridge and in gasoline and light it on fire.
Yeah, and
I get it. Like it's to show that. Everyone in Gotham sees, he's back.
But he's literally walking with a cane at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And by the end of the movie, he's like better than he ever was.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And you would think that if he gets arthritis in his knee like
Whatever
that, when he gets with the lack of when he gets his back broken, it still would have taken longer than it did, even though it was like months or something that he spent in the Lazarus pit.
He's like literally like Wolverine, like the way he heals. And then I had a big problem with Catwoman in that movie too. Yeah, again, I don't think it's that bad. So because there's a lot of scenes in that movie that elevate it from being bad, like when Bane goes into the stock exchange. That was fucking really good.
But the fact that it drained all of Bruce Wayne's money and people were like, oh, but Bane just came out and did that, like. And the fact that he didn't have any of his money back still was stupid. But in the stock exchange, it was good.
Yeah.
And then in the chase, it goes from day to night during that chase.
Yeah.
Like a mile down the road, which is, regardless, this is not Dark Knight. But yeah, that movie has a lot of major flaws, but it's not as bad as people think.
Right. Yeah. There is something in there, but whatever. But okay. Yeah, guys, thanks for listening. This is actually a good episode to talk about. We probably, I think, went longer than we originally thought we were going to about it.
Yeah, actually. Decent amount. Like,
I think this is a good idea for future episodes. Yeah, so like I said before, folks, let us know what you think. There will be a pullout tomorrow, or today, technically. But if you also feel like there's a better Batman movie than the ones that we were talking about mostly, let us know.
Yeah, and if there are other movies or shows or whatever in the future that you think we should have a debate like this about, leave the suggestions in the comments or email us, awesomesundayshow.com. You could comment on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. And thank you once again to Gamefly for sponsoring this episode. Again, you Awesome Sunday Show listeners can get a free premium 30-day trial if you go to gameflyoffer.com/awesome.
Yep. And remember, loyal awesomers, that you can also go to www.getbarkbox.com/awesome, www.getbarkbox.com/awesome for your 1 month free trial for your dog's happiness.
It's 1 month free with a 6 or 12 month subscription.
With a 6 or 12 month subscription. That's right.
There you go. All right, guys, take it easy.
Peace.